just gone live now.
All right.
Hang on, just give us a few seconds. 0.5 of a second. And we are live. All right.
We're live. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our very first, I suppose, episode of our roundtable. And the purpose of roundtable, as I'm sure you've seen advertised, is just to have authentic, raw, genuine chats about important topics that are really significant for our young people. And tonight's topic is a little bit of a broad one, but a really important one for young people, and that's dating and relationships. And before we get started, guys, I just thought that I would introduce who we've got around the table tonight. So you're going to have to use your imaginations that we're around the table. So look, let me go to my left. I'm not sure what it looks like on your screen, but we'll start with Willy. Willy,
I'm actually on top.
You're on top on your screen?
Yeah. But that's all right. I'm happy to go left.
I'm not sure what they're seeing. Maybe I have to check on Facebook. But hopefully Willy doesn't need a huge amount of introduction, seeing that he is actually our youth director. But he's going to be a bit of a regular on the round table. And underneath Willy, I have Lucy. And Lucy is going to also be a bit of a regular on the round table. And she goes to Carmel Church. So Carmel Church represents. We actually have a little bit of a Carmel representation here because we've got Blake Hort as well. Blake, I reckon, might have a few dynamite things to say tonight, seeing as he's a bit of a newlywed.
I think he's got a lot to say tonight.
hopefully it's worth sharing. Helpful, but yeah, I might have some things to say.
Awesome. And then we have the wonderful Jess. And Jess, she is dynamite. If you guys don't know, she is a huge asset to our youth department. She volunteers a lot. So Jess, we are excited to have you as well. And Jess, how do you describe it, Jess? You're nomadic when it comes to where you're going to church
at the moment. Yep.
She's one of our youth coaches, so she does a little bit of traveling around our youth at different churches. So that is who we have around the table tonight. So guys, in one word, how are you feeling? How's your week been? How are you feeling tonight? Just one word. Jump in, whoever wants to go first.
I'm feeling enthused tonight. I think I'm really looking forward to what we all have to share tonight from all our different backgrounds and perspectives. It's going to be good to learn a little bit about what each other's experiences are kind of in relation to this. And I'm just looking forward to what comes out tonight. So yeah, I'm feeling enthused.
Enthused, love it.
Enthused. That was more than one word. I'm like, you emphasized one word, but that was
sorry. Topic, wasn't it?
No, you're cool. And another thing, I just want to say congratulations to Blake. I'm really looking forward to seeing Blake become a father.
Thank you, guys.
Lots of new things in 2020.
Yeah. No, it's very, very exciting. Thank you.
My word, one word.
Word, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, feeling awesome. Because
you are awesome, Willy.
Well, I feel awesome because this has actually given us a platform to chat about these things. And that's what I love. Like our young people are longing to hear these sort of things and want directions and also want to know, what can we do? So I'm feeling like this is an awesome opportunity for us to share. That was
also more than one word, Willy, but that's good. Yeah. Ladies, who wants to go?
I'll carry on with the string of words because mine probably needs a bit of I'm going to say I'm feeling stretched. Stretched for two reasons. One, because I've just been to my weekly Pilates session, which keeps me alive and moving. And stretched because a Facebook Live is very out of my comfort zone. So I'm feeling stretched.
Yeah, I love it. Good context.
Cool.
And Jessica.
Yes. Oh, wow. What such a formal introduction.
Jessica.
My word would be jazzed, I think. I think my resting heart rate at the moment is about 80, up from the usual 60.
Well,
but
you're quick. Good job.
oh yeah. But I'm excited to be here and a part of the conversation. I'm excited to learn, as well as share my experiences, and just be a part of that ongoing conversation as well. So just.
Awesome.
And Amy, before you, because you're leading up tonight, if you can just let people know that they can ask questions, and I've got it already set up.
Excellent. Awesome. So, hopefully you saw during the last week, as this was advertised, that there is an opportunity that a link is provided that you are able to ask a question within the topic. So obviously this topic this week is dating and relationships, and we have seen a few questions that have come through. But if you didn't get an opportunity to submit a question before tonight, like Willy just said, put it up on the live chat. And as we kind of go through and continue chatting, we can bring some of those questions in at different times. So I think Willy's going to kind of you're going to keep an eye on those coming through.
Yep.
Awesome. So tonight we will hopefully be able to just have a chat, have a bit of a converse on this big topic of dating and relationships. And obviously, we have to start somewhere. So to kick off our conversation, we're going to start at looking at like preparation for a relationship. So before getting into like the dating scene, I suppose, if we want to call it that, there are some things that an individual could do to prepare and lay a foundation for a relationship. Because I mean, probably the most healthy relationships are when the individual is like healthy themselves. So to start off and to kick off the conversation, why do you guys think it's really important to kind of lay that foundation as an individual and be grounded yourself before entering in a relationship with somebody else? Does that question make sense?
I think it's really important to think that you can't pour from an empty jug. You can't have nothing to offer to the, because I mean, kind of in its basic form, you've got two parties kind of coming together and being in a relationship with each other. And I think a lot of people can go into relationships thinking that someone else can give me what I'm missing. And I think that can often actually be very, very selfish, and it's not the right reason to be in a relationship. So I think having it all a little bit more sorted with yourself and understanding what I'm able to provide to the other person and give them the security and the love that they need, rather than something that you're wanting from someone else. Because I think there's a common saying, I think it's come from movies, that you complete me. You say to the other person, you complete me, which I think is actually quite a selfish thing to say as well, because you shouldn't be relying so much on what someone else is going to give you, but more focusing on what you can build with the other person as well. So I think it's very, very important to have yourself grounded, understanding what you want from a relationship and what you can provide to the other person.
That's a mic drop right there, Blake.
Yeah.
That was good. Yeah.
Good job, Blake.
Oh, no worries.
Married or something?
I've often heard like, I don't know about you guys, but I've heard people say that they started praying for their kids' partner, future partner, whether the boyfriend or girlfriend. And I'm like, wow, what a way to prepare.
Yeah.
It's a good one. That's certainly true in my life, Willy. I remember, some really important early conversations with my mum and my grandma in particular, and it was very intentional about praying for probably specifically a future husband, maybe not every little relationship in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely for that, yeah, a husband, a godly husband in particular. Yeah, it's a good one. I was going to say as well, Blake, I think what you said was spot on about that whole "you complete me" idea. I think another good thing about having a bit of time to have some self-reflection before entering a relationship, it helps you to just to be aware of some things that will happen when you're in a relationship. So for instance, if you know like maybe some of your strengths, your you know, what you bring to a relationship, your communication styles, your different ideas about things, I think it's healthy to know yourself as a person and where you stand on certain things, and make sure that you've thought about your outlook on life, and whether that's complemented by another person might be a better way than saying "you complete me." Maybe it's like a shared interest and a compliment.
Yes.
And
completing, absolutely.
Exactly.
I like
but
that.
It can also give you some ideas about maybe where some sticking points in your relationship are. And let's just say from the get-go, no relationship's perfect. So if you've had some self-reflection about maybe some of your triggers or bits that you struggle with, it might give you some clues about areas that could come up in your relationship too.
So like, I like that thing of like not necessarily complete me, but almost like someone that's compatible. So not necessarily a completion, but a compatibility. So do you think knowing yourself first helps you know the type of person you're compatible with, and what kind of things should you do to find out your strengths and weaknesses to find that compatibility? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, actually, within the first few weeks of Erin and I dating, we actually both did a love languages test to just see what each other had. I think that's a really good place to start. We're very lucky because ours were actually very similar to each other, and we shared the top two with each other, just the opposite way around. And so that just made it really easy for us. But that doesn't mean that you have to be with someone who is the same one as you. It's more just understanding how someone likes to be loved, or how you like to be loved as well, and what works for each other. So absolutely.
Love languages, that's actually a really good one. Like for Scott and myself, we actually didn't do it until like a year in, like into our just kind of like relationship, finding out what they are, and it's definitely really, really helpful.
Actually, on that as well, I don't know if it's all been formally done yet, but the same person has actually made a 5 languages of apology as well. However, that might be for another night. But just having a look at it, it's very, very well done. And believe me, talking out to the men, you might actually find yourself doing a lot more apologizing.
I was just going to ask that, Blake.
When you're in a relationship, when you do silly things as well. But I think that is actually a very, very important way to know how to actually comfort someone when you've hurt them, or when they are feeling hurt as well. But yeah, that's just something that's worth having a look at as well, definitely.
How many times have you had to apologize?
Countless.
Yeah. I also think that, you know, being grounded and knowing who you are helps you, you know, you don't get pushed around easily because you know who you are. You know your values, you know your goals. And knowing who you are and what you're looking for as well, and knowing what, you know, having God in the center of it all also helps you identify red flags in relationships, if that makes sense. So yeah, that would be my input, my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I think also like this isn't even just self-reflection just to get yourself ready for a relationship, but self-reflection just as an individual is really important, because yes, some people are going to be entering a relationship, but that doesn't necessarily, like, I guess what I'm saying, it kind of denotes the idea that You got to prepare yourself to be in a relationship. Whereas just preparing yourself for life in general actually is really important, because I don't know about you guys, and I might be stepping the mark here, but I actually don't like the idea of calling it a time of preparation or waiting, a season of waiting before a relationship, because to me that kind of denotes the idea that my life is on postpone before I get married. Like my life doesn't begin until I'm in a relationship, or my life doesn't begin until I'm in a marriage. Whereas, you know, that growth and your fulfillment and your identity is in every season of your life. And that fulfillment and that purpose and contentment needs to come into a huge factor just in your life now, not necessarily because you want to be in a relationship. So I don't know what your thoughts are about that, and I'd love to hear from Jess too, because Jess,
she's being quiet.
You're not in a season of singleness, because like I said, I don't like that term. But like, from that perspective, like, what are your thoughts on that contentment and that fulfillment outside of a relationship?
Yeah, I think it's an easier trap to fall into, putting being in a relationship at the center of your life, and that is sort of like, oh, I know everything will be okay once I've found my person, and all that sort of thing, and everything else kind of falls on hold. And it can be easy to say things like, oh yeah, I've been praying to God about it, and including God in that. But what you've actually done is put God aside and placed relationships at center, and you do start hitting walls and spiraling a little bit in it, and you're not really going to progress in any of your relationships, be it romantic or not, if you're not seeking your identity in Christ first, because God is the one who created you, right? And so he's the one that's going to understand you the most. So the more you draw near to him, the more you'll actually uncover who you are and who you were created to be. And then once you know that more and more, you can be the truest version of yourself and start attracting the right people for you. If that makes sense. So it's sort of, we flip it around where we think, oh yeah, I just need to find someone who will support me spiritually, and then I'll draw closer to God, and my relationship with Jesus can improve once I find my person. But it's exactly the other way round, and that goes for, like I said, just friendships, family relationships, as well. So it can, you can just get a little bit stuck in that, and it requires you to take a step back and be like, actually, am I living for God, or what I think other people's expectations of me are, and what feels like the right thing to be progressing in life is, and all that sort of thing. And it kind of creates a bit of a tunnel vision. I don't know if you guys have experienced that at all. I know I've come across a few people, because look, I've been in a few relationships, and obviously they didn't end poorly, but they obviously didn't end in marriage, but I would never call them a waste of time. In fact, they had a big part in me reflecting and growing in my faith and my maturity as a person, to be the best version of myself. So I think you can't discount failed relationships either, and the part they have to play in your ongoing journey. If that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Yeah, definitely. Jess, you just touched on something just then about kind of like an expectation of like moving forward. And I think it's a bit of an expectation, particularly, I would say, in generations gone by, but maybe there's a little bit of that still assumption and expectation now, that kind of life kind of increases in a linear way with certain things that happen. So like, you leave high school and then you get qualifications while simultaneously dating, and then you get a job, and then you get married, and then you have kids, and if you're the wife, then you leave your job and you're a stay-at-home mom. Like, there's kind of like this linear progression in life, that's a bit of an assumption or an expectation. So do you think that there are still some of those expectations today or not? And like, why do you think it's important to remember that sometimes life can look a bit different than that?
Good question.
I'm so glad that you brought this up, Amy, because yeah, this is a great question, and I think like we talk about expectations like that perhaps we have as individuals going into a relationship, but there's also like massive vested interest from our communities that come with a relationship too. So I mean, we've all been there where there's like a new relationship happening and there's this sort of buzz in the air in the community, and that puts a whole heap of relationship on, and then or expectations on, and then you kind of reach the next phase of a relationship, and then all of a sudden there's this classic question, when's he going to propose, when's the ring coming, like when's the wedding, when's the baby's coming, like we just kind of have this like very set idea in our minds about how things roll. And I think like that's a huge amount of pressure, and when we like look at society, like a lot of relationships actually fail. And sometimes I can't help but wonder whether that's a reflection of some of the issues that we have as a society about a failed relationship, that there is so much pressure, or perhaps people feel that they maybe can't leave a relationship, or maybe they can't start a relationship because they're worried about not meeting other people's expectations. I think that's coming back sort of full circle to what we were saying before. That's why you have to really be intentional about what your intention and motive for starting a relationship is, because it's a massive commitment, and whether we like it or not, it's going to have input from those around us.
Yes.
Interesting. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it's important as well not to just progress through the stages because you've got problems in one of them. I think there's a lot of people who can have issues in a relationship, and they're not happy with how things are, and they can just say, well, let's just get married because that will fix this. This is a commitment to show that we love each other, and that will fix this. And then they get to their marriage, and then they go, well, things aren't doing well. We need that kind of spark again. Let's have kids because that shows how much we love each other.
We're jealous together more. Yeah.
Yeah, we're jealous together more. And then, I mean, look, the rates, I don't know them off by heart, but the rates of how many divorces there are in society is hugely high. And a lot of them have got children involved as well. And they grow up in broken families as well. So I think it's not a way to make your relationship better. I think often it actually puts more pressure on your relationship, and you need to think carefully about progressing through the stages, actually talking about it and seeing if that's actually what you want as well, and if that's actually going to be, if there are issues in the relationship, is that actually going to be a way to make things better, or is it actually just going to make things worse and have resentment towards each other?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
It's interesting, Lucy, what you mentioned about like the community expectations and things like that. I had a boyfriend in high school, and he was great to hang out with and stuff, but it just got a bit like too much. And I was hesitant to break it off with him because I didn't want to hurt his mum's feelings. And so it was just a bit of this awkward kind of like, and I think in relationships that have come after that, I found myself thinking about how my decisions in the relationship, in entering a relationship or in entering new stages of a relationship, what other people would think of that and how it would impact them. And it was just a lot to think about. And I think that kind of swings back to if you in your life are forming a firm foundation in your own identity, then all that stuff is a lot easier to work through, and you have that self-assurance and confidence that you are making good decisions without the kind of fluff of people, dropping their 2 cents worth in. But having said that, you do have to have a balance of listening to your friends and your family, because a lot of the time they do care for you, and the advice they have to give is really important and useful. So it's just this nice, balance is the thing.
Balance and healthy. I mean, healthy choices grow healthy relationships.
Yeah.
And surrounding yourselves with so at least three of my best friends are married, and I'm like the token single person in my friend group, but it's actually been one of the biggest blessings of my life. And I think it's important when you are entering into a relationship to be a good friend to single people as well, and not make them feel like they're behind. So I'm gladly a third, fifth, sixth, seventh, whatever wheel. And it's a lot of fun. And I know that my friends are actually looking out for me, and they're not like, when are you going to get married so we can like go on camping
Putting
trips?
pressure on themselves.
So
that's cool. And I want to touch on this, Amy, if that's okay. Young people, if you're watching, this is absolutely for you. And I feel that us as a church and as pastors sometimes, and a community, I feel that we've done our single people and our young people injustice by insinuating or making them feel that if they are not in a relationship, they're not complete. So if you're watching today, young people, that is a myth. God did not create half people. He created two whole people, two whole individuals, Adam and Eve. That's what God created. He didn't create half Eve and half Adam and then come together and make one person. If you're not in a relationship, you are whole and you are complete and you are beautiful, you are special and you are valued. And I just want you to know that.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said before, life doesn't begin when you're in a relationship. Your life has begun, and there is purpose and identity now. And if I'm allowed to like drop a resource, because if you are watching and you're in a space right now where you are single, and I don't want to again call it a season, because like every season is important, but there's actually a really good resource called Flying Solo, and it's by Lisa Bevere, and I'm not sure if you've heard of her, but there's also a resource center called Messenger International, and her single son have done like an online course, I suppose you could call it, addressing like living your life and life to the absolute fullest as a single person. That there is, it's not like you have a, because I don't know, you know how old people, this might at church be like about being single, I'll pray for you, almost like it's a disease, like I'll pray for you. It's not a disease. It is like Willy said, like you are a whole person, and I think we need to talk about that a little bit more. And so that resource, Flying Solo, talks about that. Like you are a whole person. Your identity in Christ as a human being is now. There's amazing things that he has for you, and sometimes it means you can actually do more for him in your single life than you could in another season of being married or with kids, all that kind of stuff. So
I think, just adding on to what I was saying, I think if Adam didn't meet Eve, he will still be Adam.
Yeah.
And if Eve didn't meet Adam, she'll still be Eve. And I think we get mistaken and we misinterpret when God says it's not good for man to be alone. I think that's not what God was saying. He wasn't saying you have to be married. What God was saying, love is what completes creation. And that's what it is.
Community.
So,
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, like that, talking about that time of being single is really important. And if we move into like the concept of dating and relationships, if we go down that track. So I want to know from you guys, what is your philosophy on dating? So like now, or in the past? What kind of is your philosophy? And what I mean by that, like, is in what's your intention with dating? So like, is your focus, like dating is definitely always for the intention of marriage, for commitment, or is dating more, you know, about just friendships and meeting different people with no real connection, or anything in between? I'd love to know, like, yeah, in the past or now, what would your kind of philosophy on dating be?
Okay, well, everyone is thinking, hey, let me jump in, all right, because I think I'm the oldest one here. No, I'm not.
Billy's ready to go.
All right, I'm ready to go. So my philosophy on dating, you know what, Amy, I got to be honest, I was the most hopeless person to date. Indecisive, and because I grew up basically just me and my mom, so I was basically a single child, so I was very good at emotional manipulation. If that makes no, I've got to be honest, that's me. Like, I was that. You do what I want. If you're not going to do what I want, I'm going to cry and I'm going to sook about it. I'm not going to talk to you. And that was not healthy relationship. Like, for me, that I wanted to date someone with the intention of marriage, but what I was doing was not helping and it wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
So it was 2008 that something clicked. And if you met me before then, you'll be like, this guy's an egg, this guy's an idiot, man. But something clicked, like, and it was just I relaxed and I said, oh man, this is God's thing, not my thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was totally the different person then. But my intention was always to marry and meet the right girl. But unfortunately, I was not the right guy for that girl at that time.
So the preparation before had to be done.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. It's really important that who you're wanting to be with is someone that you want to actually spend the rest of your life with. I think even or be around at least, because I mean, hopefully your marriage is going to be something that is with someone that is going to be around with you for the rest of your life. And I think you're going to have things that you have in common, shared interests that will last for a long time as well. I think a lot of people look for things that can help, like physical attractions and stuff like that. But unfortunately, as we get older, they can kind of diminish, and they're not the same throughout the whole time. But that's completely fine, and that's okay. But the things
like
that
them more for their outward look.
Thanks, Blake. You know, I used to have this friend.
Yeah,
that used to tell me, hurry up and get married, Willy.
I think it's really important that the things that you share in common with them will last forever, and the things that they do to make you laugh and you make them laugh, I think is really, really important as well. So I think ultimately the person that you want to be with should be your best friend, because look, there's I think with anyone you're going to have things that you love about them. There's going to be things that you might find a little bit annoying as well, but you choose to still love them all for that, because no one's perfect at the end of the day as well. And I think that's really, really important. No one's perfect.
So from that, like, are you saying dating philosophy is kind of, you know, find your best friend? Is that kind of?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, you're going to spend a lot of time with them. You want to be with someone that a long time, and a lot of the day with them as well, hopefully. And I think that's really, really important, or you're not going to be as happy as you are. You
got to like them.
Yes, got to like them.
Wise words.
It's interesting. I think I have a slightly different perception of dating, I suppose, because not that so I don't think people should just date around for the sake of dating around, or be massive flirts and all that sort of thing, because that can be damaging for both parties in different ways. But I think we kind of need to take the embarrassment out of dating, because I think there's a particular stage in dating where it's the getting to know you stage where you're sort of trying to establish with each other whether you do have a connection that's a little bit deeper than just your standard friendship.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time there's this whole like, oh, I think that person likes me, and I think I like them, but I don't know if they like me. And I think sometimes there's just a lot of missed opportunities because people can't communicate because they don't want to put themselves out there and risk rejection and all that sort of thing. So I kind of view it as this first stage of dating where you're getting to know each other. And if you have a few experiences with different people in that, it's not that you are unlucky in love necessarily, or you're dating around or whatever, but you're just wanting to get to know people. And if you get to the point where you're like, I appreciate you as a human being, but I don't think we're compatible in that next step way, then that's okay as well. And you've been able to share a piece of life together, and you can part as friends and keep hanging out, whatever, that's cool. But there's no shame in that. But it's if you are diving into pretty deep relationships straight off the bat and just being like, yes, I'm dating for marriage, and because that puts a whole bunch of stress immediately on the relationship. And if you're not like experienced or mature or ready enough for that, it can be quite damaging in that relationship as well, and a bit overwhelming.
So with that, Jess, so you're saying like straight up, not necessarily having that conversation like, I'm dating with the possibility of marrying you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because it's just a really intimidating thing. Like, you go on a date with someone and you're eating your pasta across the table and you're like, am I going to marry this person? Like, I don't know. And it's just really like stressful. And then like, I think in the early stages of one of my relationships, we were talking about like how many kids. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how did we get, it's only been a week. Like, how did we get here? And it was just like, it really kind of threw me for a loop. So I think it's okay to acknowledge that first kind of period of time where, you're a little bit more than friends potentially, and you might hold hands or whatever, but it's okay to step back from that as well, if that's just not the direction. And it's not because either one of you is a terrible person or unlovable. It's just that you guys didn't match up in that time, and that's okay. You've learned something, and then you can take that on to the next friendship and all that sort of thing.
I agree. Good point. Mic drop. Hey. Right there, Jess. Yeah.
Jess, I agree with what you're saying. Like, terrifying. Hello, future husband. Do you want to date me? Like, oh my gosh.
Because I have heard that people do that.
Well, to be honest, I'm going to put myself in that category because, when this topic comes up, I always feel a bit awkward because my entire dating experience, similar to Blake actually, FYI, occurred in high school. And so I suppose I would say that I don't know that I do have a dating philosophy because my dating experience was up to 3 months in year 11 and then from year 11 camp all the way till today. So they're kind of two quite different scenarios.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, I think, and it's, I suppose, a personal experience, but basically I knew what a relationship that wasn't healthy looked like. I experienced that and I knew what it looked like. And so for me, even like in a short-term relationship in high school, I think I realized the gravity of entering into a relationship and how it could be really wonderful, but it could also be really, a life-altering kind of experience as well. So entering into a relationship for me carried a lot of weight. So I suppose coming from a family that had divorce and my parents' marriage broke up, and I think that sort of perspective, it can give you clarity in a way about I actually realized the importance of relationships and I'm not here to test things out. I kind of knew pretty quickly whether something was there or it wasn't. So yeah.
But,
Yeah.
No, go Lucy. You got.
Oh no, that's all right. I was going to say, but I didn't like go straight up to Ryan and say, "Hey, I'm your future wife," either.
I might be like a commitment phobe or something, but I think putting labels on things makes a huge difference. Like if I was to be dating someone and we were just dating, that's fine. But then as soon as somebody started referring to us as boyfriend, girlfriend, I'd be like, hold on. Because if I hadn't had the conversation around, because I think that's the point for me anyway, if it's all of a sudden, okay, you're have the label of boyfriend, girlfriend, you're a couple, that's when you start talking about those things of actually, I need this to have a direction, and ideally that would be marriage, but not before that. So it's a kind of labels thing in my head a little bit as well.
Yeah.
So we're talking, oh, sorry, Willy. Go.
No, it's cool.
I was going to say, we're talking about like intentions here. So, and we've kind of touched on it, but like Jess said, like when you're having those, I think you're a couple, and if the intent is that, you know, maybe in the future, like this is like pointing to the direction of marriage, what kind of intentional conversations do you think is really important to have? Like either from the get-go or when you both come to a realization that you're both heading towards the direction of marriage. And you kind of, like we talked about before, you want to know whether you're compatible. You want to know whether this is going to work. And like Lucy said, like the weight of it, like as in, is this really going to be a healthy relationship or not? What kind of intentional conversations do you think need to happen in that dating sphere?
I think you touched on something there, Amy. Just the word conversation actually brings up probably the core of relationships. One of the cores of relationship, and that is communication. Because healthy communication, all relationships, begin with communication, and all relationships end with when there's no communication. So communication is very important in this conversation, and making the conversation and the communication clear, because that's sometimes confusing. Because some guys, and I don't know, I'm speaking for guys, that hopefully, guys, if you're opposite to what I'm saying, please forgive me. But generally, this is what I find with guys. They're really not clear with what they want. Sometimes
I would build upon that, Willy, as well, and say it's not just about communication. I would actually say it's about comprehension as well. I think you can have a lot of discussions about the same thing and talk, but you'd be really surprised at how different the picture is that is formed in each person's mind about what things look like. I would even say, as I was planning my wedding with my to-be wife at the time, just even minor little details like that, you've got this kind of picture in your mind of how you want things to look like and what's important to you. And we could be on completely different pages. And I mean, that's just something that's, kind of materialistic at the time, but when you're starting to talk about the future, that can be really, really quite blurry, and not having, and talking about it is very important, but you need to kind of have an idea of how are you actually picturing what this is going to look like in the future, because I think that's really, really important. Otherwise you can be in completely different pages.
I'm gonna name drop someone who helped Ryan and I out with this exact thing. So Pastor Terry Johnson, if you are listening, or if anyone knows this man, Terry Johnson and marriage counseling is a very interesting experience. But something that's really stood out from what we learned from him was actually like taking the time to listen and then repeat back what you thought you heard. Yeah. And just double check that you're actually hearing right. Because so often things happen and you're on different pages for whatever reason, and it's actually really good to just say, hey, did I hear you right? Because let me understand that a little bit more. And that's a really good little tip. So I'll just throw that one in there. Thanks, Pastor Terry. You've helped us out with many a robust discussion.
And any relationship and any conversation, really, that one's a really important tool.
Yeah.
But also at the same time as well, I think, and I'm speaking to girls now, so girls, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to push and push and push to get clarity from the guy or your boyfriend or whoever, your partner, because don't ask them to say what you just said, because they'll just repeat the last few words that you said. Like, get clarity, get where they're actually at with their thinking, because sometimes, and I hate to say this, but sometimes they can drag you along on this ride, and it's not right. So clear communication and the tough conversations need to be had. Just give you an example. I'm a guy. There will be a time where, when you're close with someone and you'll be dating for a while, there is going to be that physical attraction, and we can't lie about that. There's going to be that physical attraction. But I'm grateful for my wife, because she's the one that set the tone. She's the one that said, put boundaries there, and said, hey, boyfriends don't get husband treatment.
Yeah.
You're not my husband yet. So, hey, wait.
I actually like what you say about the woman sets the tone. Lucy, I feel like you were going to say something about that.
Yeah, I also like where you're going there, Willy. And I think, I've seen lots of different examples of how this plays out with some of my friends, and sort of been alongside them when they're in various relationships. And one thing that I would say is having tough conversations, like, don't shy away from them. Because one of the things that I think is a really good, I suppose I'll use the word test for a relationship, is how the other person responds when someone says no. I think that, to me, says a whole heap about character of the other person. Whether, and that will come up in, boundaries we're talking about, I suppose, and, intimacy boundaries, physical boundaries, or lots of other different boundaries. But look very closely at how the other person responds to you saying no. And that sort of comes back to that, having your, I suppose your self-reflection all the way along, and, understanding for yourself where your comfort zone is, I suppose. What are you comfortable with in the terms of a relationship, as a dating relationship in particular, and what is the response when someone says no? Says a lot about character.
Yeah, I think it's also important to have those conversations up front. It might feel a bit weird, like, we've only been dating for, X amount of time, but it is important, and the right person will have a lot of respect for you in that. And it gives them the opportunity to be held accountable, but also hold you accountable should situations arise where you feel tempted to cross those boundaries, particularly if you are feeling a bit insecure. And I know I feel this. I think women generally feel a bit insecure in relationships, or they need that. I certainly do need that constant affirmation of love and reminder of that. And sometimes it can feel like I need to be a particular thing or do a particular thing in order to receive that. Like, I'm not holding up my end of the bargain. And so when those sorts of thoughts come in, because you've had that conversation to begin with, then you both can be a whole lot more honest with each other about that, and be like, well, hold on, this isn't what we spoke about before. What are you feeling? Because if you feel like you're owing me anything, then there's obviously something else going on, and how can I fulfill that through a healthier way than that, potentially.
Because the boundaries have already been set and discussed upon. So often, and not often, but sometimes you'll have these conversations, intentional conversations, and you do realize that compatibility is not there.
Mm.
And so, you know, often there does need to be a break of the relationship, because you know that that's not going to be the best for you or for the other person moving forward. And when that happens, I have to say, like, I have seen, particularly within our close-knit Adventist circles, sometimes what can happen when a relationship has a breakup, that's friendship groups can also break up because of it, and people take sides sometimes. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I know I certainly have. But it is reality, like that happens, and it is okay for that to happen, for people to break up. But what are your thoughts about making sure that friendships and friendship circles around that breakup aren't affected? Because I think that's a real thing within our Adventist youth circles. Like, how do we navigate that?
I think you touched on it earlier on when we mentioned communities.
Yeah.
Communities are important when it comes to these sort of things, and you know, I want to speak directly to our churches as well, because our local churches and our churches have become our families, and they're the ones that nurture us. They're the ones that we feel part of and included. You know, if we have good church cultures, you know, where I know that I've broken up with someone and I can go there, we can both go there and still feel the love, if that makes sense, rather than go there and be segregated, be alienated, basically, pretty much. You're like, oh, you sit there because, you know, you're single, or you've just broken up, or I don't want to sit next to you because I don't know what to say. And sometimes that happens, and you know, I think we need to do better in that atmosphere. We can nurture broken hearts. That's why the church was formed. That's why we are called to mend broken hearts and to walk beside each other. When there's a breakup, there's a broken heart there.
I think also on that too, Willy, we sometimes have a track record of relationships ending badly and explosively sometimes. And I think a way that is a really good practice for everyone to have is that, look, if a relationship does need to end, and for whatever reason, probably don't rat that other person out. Don't talk bad of that person.
Absolutely.
You know, there would have been a lot of shared experience and things that happen in that relationship that are, you know, deeply personal and, really important. And I think that there's no need to go and sort of, really tear that person down. Like, there's lots of different ways to deal with hurt. One of the ways to deal with hurt is to make sure that you're maintaining great friendships outside of your relationship while you're still in a relationship. So keep that community engagement. Don't go off, you know, the two of you solo and really isolate yourselves. Make sure that you're connected with your friend group. And sure, you'll be able to have some of those conversations if there is hurt and things like that. But it's really important that we maintain respect, even if a relationship doesn't end up progressing.
Yeah.
And what about for people who are friends of both of, like, the couple? What do you think their response can be? Because sometimes that can get messy. People start taking sides. Like, do you have any advice in that area?
From me, when people start taking sides. Did you say Blake or like?
No, I didn't say Blake, but I would love to hear from you, Blake.
Sorry. Unfortunately, my name sounds a lot like other things as well. It can be really tricky. I think you can have relationships that last for a couple weeks, a couple months, and still have the same issue as some that last for years as well. And I think, and some, I think half the issue is that, unfortunately, rumors can be spread very easily in the church as well about anything. It could be completely not true as well. And I think that's really, it can be really, really difficult to say. I think as well, it's really important to know that 99% of the time, I think whatever the reason it broke up, isn't going to change the person's character that they have in Christ and in the church as well. I think they're still an important person in the church, and it's not an issue of their character. It's usually just a compatibility thing. I think that's just really important to realize.
Yeah,
that's true. I've been really lucky in that I've been able to maintain a friendship, a close friendship with both of the people that I was in a relationship with, and that's a testament to who they are as well. And you do, I think, build up a level of trust just fundamentally as people. Like, forget about the romantic relationship side of that, but that you do have that level of trust. And then when you fall apart for whatever reason, I was fortunate in that it wasn't anything like nobody slighted me or anything like that. It was just, like you said, like a compatibility thing. We actually were able to reconcile a little bit, have a conversation about that exactly, and be like, hey, this just isn't working, but I want you to know that I still care about you as a person. I still want to be a part of your life and know how you're going and all that sort of thing. So call a spade, but still affirm in that person that you have a lot of respect for them as a human being, and that you still love them the way that God would love them, unconditionally, no matter what, and that you want to support them that way. And at the end of the day, you can just be the best person that you can be, and it's up to the other half of that to accept or not, and do with that what they will, if that makes sense.
I love that maturity. Yeah.
Hey,
there's a specific question that I do need to ask, because it was one that came in from the survey, and it says, at what point in your relationship do you stop taking advice from others? What would be your thoughts surrounding that question that came in?
That's a good question. Sorry. Go Blake.
No, that's okay. I was just saying it's a tricky one. I think maybe if the advice is coming from someone who has many, many, many failed relationships, and they're giving you advice on how to make a good one, maybe it might sound a little bit a bit contradictory. I think even anything that can be applied to anything in life. I don't think we should ever stop listening and listening to others as well. I think there's some very, very wise people out there who have great relationships, and I think are really good to listen to. And obviously the people have failed ones as well, but everything is a learning experience, and we should take anything that we can. I think we all have interactions with so many other different people. I'm really lucky to have my parents have a really good relationship with each other, and I find that I've taken a lot of advice from them. But some people may not be so lucky, or they don't know many other people who've had really good relationships, and some people have to search a little bit harder than others to find what is actually really good for them as well. But I think you can't take everything as just towards your relationship as advice from others. There is going to have to be some self-discovery and some relationship discovery, and working that out with each other. Because I think if you don't know how to work out some of that kind of stuff with each other, you're going to have many more battles going on later in life when you're further in your marriage, and you need to work out something that only you two are able to. That's
right. Good point there, Blake. Mic drop again for the third time. There's a lot of wisdom coming out there. I agree with that. It's sometimes when we look for something that we want, we actually find. There's a lot of good things that could be given to us, like good advice, but it's not the one that we want. So of course we're going to look for the one that we want and get the answers that we're looking for. But there's sometimes, and I like what Blake said, the ownership is on us as well. There's got to be a time where we got to stand up and, okay, well, this is my relationship. I'm going to actually, okay, that's good advice. That's not so good advice. Okay. You got to be wise about this. And Proverbs actually says that in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13, where it says, please be wise. Blessed is the man who is wise or finds wisdom, and one that finds understanding. So be wise in what you do. And you got to stand up and say, hey, I'm going to take ownership of this as well.
Yeah. I like what you said, Willy, about like I think it's important to always be receptive to advice, particularly when you know that it's coming from a good place and that person just wants what's best for you. But you do have to look at it and say, is this good or bad advice? Because not all advice fits every context and situation and every person. So be open to it, and consider it, reflect on it, and then decide how you're going to apply it, if you're going to apply it, and ask more questions if you need to. But I don't think there is ever a point that you should close yourself off to that, because
That you've made it, that you're above advice.
yeah, I mean, I used to sort of be like, oh, I'll just figure it out, it's fine. Experience is the greatest teacher, no worries. I don't need self-help. And Nicole's gonna love me for this. She put me onto a series of books, and I'm gonna drop a resource reference here as well. There are For Women Only and For Men Only, 2 different books, but written by a couple. And they're geared more towards people who are in relationships, but you can read them as a single person as well. And it's just really handy in terms of learning more about what you can read both of them. I know it says For Women Only, but guys, you're allowed to read it too. And For Men Only, same thing, girls, you can read it. And it just helps you kind of learn a little bit more about the inner workings of both males and females when it comes to communication, something we were talking about before, and understanding like kind of the picture that we both paint in a relationship and all that sort of thing. And I think my pride kind of took a little bit of a hit when Nicole was like, oh, you should read this. And I was like, oh, but I don't want to. But when I started reading these books, I was like, this is actually really beneficial. And I wish that I had done it before. And so I think, yes, a part of that is putting your pride aside in these things as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Amy, I've just got a comment come through, and I think this is a really good one as well. Melanie said, a successful relationship is God-centered.
100%. Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
I would also add to that, Willy, like if you want to talk about vulnerability, pray together as a couple. Like, man, that is like, to me, that is like the definition of vulnerability and intimacy and love, actually. Like, yeah, that's pretty incredible. So yeah, if you're in a relationship, try praying together.
Since Jess is dropping and Amy dropped some resources, I want to drop a resource too. That's all good. Yeah, there's this book it's called Boundaries in Dating. Whether you're dating or looking at going dating, there's this book called Boundaries in Dating, written by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. So yeah,
I know the
look
one.
at your local ABC.
Yes. Hey, let's finish on this last question, which is also a specific one that has come in, and it is, how do you know that your partner is the one? The pretty the question to finish. So what are your
Man, this is bad because I didn't know my partner was the one. I just knew. That's a standard answer that I get from someone. I didn't go like, I just knew she was the one. I don't know. I don't know how I knew. I just knew. There wasn't a time where I said, oh yeah, that's the one. I just knew. I don't know.
Was there something different about the relationship?
Friendship. Friendship was the beginning of our relationship. Yeah. So it goes all the way back to Avondale College, Avondale University. If you're looking for a good university to go to, Avondale University College is one great one to go to. All right. So it all started back there in 2002, long time ago. We were just friends. And I invited her out to go door knocking with me.
Oh, that's how you know a woman that will go door knocking.
That's right. A woman that goes door knocking with you, and you know that's it, eh? And then I was really romantic. I didn't even think about going out with her then. I just invited her along because it was cool. Come along. And then I took her out to Hungry Jack's. How cool is that?
Nice, romantic.
2 things, come door knocking. If you eat Hungry Jack's with me, you're done.
So
and then
delivered.
That's right. But the other thing, and this is really, really surface stuff, all right, for me. I wanted, like, I think it was Blake that talked about compatibility.
Yeah.
I wanted someone that can kick the footy.
Cool.
And
And Dale's able to do that.
Yeah, she kicked the footy.
Nice.
So
you decided that on your first date. You set up a footy, kick it.
That's it. You're done. I'm done. But seriously though, on a serious note, I prayed a lot about it. And it was a God decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, for us, it was actually maybe 7 years being, friends, actually good friends. We became really, really close friends. And that's where it was, the foundation is friendship.
Yeah.
And we got to, declutter this whole thing, because everything is cluttered. We think that we have to be this to get that, and I have to be with that person, otherwise I'm not someone. And I think that's just wrong. I think love is other-centered, if that makes sense. Is other-centered, not me-centered. Because when it becomes I'm going to marry you because you fulfill me, I think that's when it becomes wrong.
Yeah, like Blake said.
Yeah. So it was a lot of prayer and conversations. And I love and I respect her. That's the main thing. I like spending time with her. I like hanging out with her, and I respect her for the standard that she had.
I think it's a tricky little kind of phrase or title, the one. I think it's not so much about the one person, but it's actually about the one relationship. This is the one relationship that, like, this is the relationship I've always wanted. This is the relationship I want to be in. And I think when it comes, I think having to be in that one relationship that is going to work for me and to last into the future comes with compromise and sacrifice on both parties. It's something that you build and do together. I don't think there is any one person that can be perfect for anyone, except the person that is willing to work on what you build together. I think that is the most important thing. So I think when you say this person's the one, I don't think that's not necessarily correct, but the relationship that I'm in with this person is the one. Like, this is right. This is correct for me. And I feel like I want to be with in this relationship forever as well. I think it's really, really important that it's because the relationship is more about the other person features or my features as well. It's about what you build together and create and have forever.
That's beautiful.
Any other thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think Blake, probably very similar to what you've just said. I think I don't know about the concept of the one, but I do think that and it's about, hey, this is the person that I'm going to choose every day. And for that to actually bring you joy rather than something that feels scary or you're worried about, like when it becomes actually such a joy to know that you will keep choosing this person every day, on their good days and their bad days, because let's face it, life gets real. But when that is a joy, I think is a really good thing. And I think also for me, I had some non-negotiable characteristics that were really important to me in finding a husband. And I was incredibly blessed that someone came along very early in my life that had those characteristics. So I think that was a really important thing for me. And let's face it, they were characteristics of Jesus's character, actually. And so I think when someone embodies the character of the ultimate relationship that we can have, which is with Jesus, and someone that brings you closer to Jesus and shares his character, then that was a really big indicator for me.
Awesome. Good work, Lucy.
Well, are there anything else that you would like us to address from anybody that's written in, Willy, or It is
Look,
39, so
it is. We've just got a few guys here just, mucking around here by their comments. It looks like there's a guy by the name of Max. Max is always good laugh.
I'm at.
So, but yeah, no, not really. I think there's a lot of affirmation just
Cool.
coming through. And thank you to Blake. Very wise words, Blake. There's also there's a comment from Melanie. Melanie said, "Love is unconditional." If we understand the definition of love, we do come across that it is unconditional, because that's the underlining base of love, because God is love, and love is God. So,
Willie, I wonder. Oh, sorry, Lucy, go.
Oh, I was just going to quickly say, Amy, you might be heading there anyway, but as we kind of mentioned at the get-go, like dating and relationships is a massive topic.
Yeah.
So, if there's anyone watching this that feels that we've, not covered the whole thing, well, we haven't. So let us know what else. Very open to chatting more or to revisiting this topic again.
Yeah, definitely. And let us know if there's anything under this broad topic, like Lucy said, like specifics that you'd like to address. And if there is anything tonight that one of these guys you resonated with or you'd like to know more, all of them have said that they are very happy for you to contact them. So probably the best way to do so would be Facebook Messenger. All of them have Messenger. So if you have any specific questions for any of our guests tonight, they're more than happy to hear from you. So
and also adding on to that, Amy, I mean, like, this is not the first and last one of this. This is actually the first opportunity that we have on this platform, and that's what COVID has done for us. It's given us this platform to discuss these issues. So if you're watching tonight, don't be afraid to ask questions. We'd love to hear from you. Give us your feedback. But I've really enjoyed just tonight's conversation. It's been really good. Actually, there's a comment from Chelsea. She said, "I'm so keen for part 2." Now let's part 2, because there's a lot we haven't covered about this, Mike. The importance of how to keep a relationship, what aspects, to make that relationship work, how to grow together, how to find the right partner. I don't know. These are some things that's just running through my head, but
Willie, I wonder whether you might be able to pray for us and for those listening, no matter what season they find themselves in. Do you reckon you could close in prayer for our,
I'd love to.
viewers?
Love to. All right, Father God, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to speak into these issues and to these really important topics that some of our young people are struggling with, and even in our own married couples and relationships, we might be wondering, some of these questions. So, Father, I pray for clarity, and I pray that you'll be with all of us and continue to shower us with your blessing. Open our minds to understand and to understand love. And you are the center of love, because you are love. So thank you for the opportunity tonight to share. Bless these guys in a special way, and looking forward to the next part. Amen.
Amen.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tonight, I better get off Facebook Live because everyone is watching. Our next one is actually in a month's time. Yes, so tune in for part 2.
Cool.
All right, but for now, good night.
Good night.
So yeah.